Gabriel McSharry, nutritionist and medical herbalist. A safe and effective approach to your health condition. Call the clinic on 071 9142 940.
Now then, seasonal affective disorder, or if you like, SAD, S-A-D, are commonly known as the winter blues, is associated with winter depression and feeling normal and very happy in the summertime. Well, I'm joined on the line now by Gabriel McSharry, and Gabriel McSharry is a nutritionist and he's also a medical herbalist, and he's based in Calry in County Sligo. Good morning.
Good morning, Johnny. Good morning to listeners of CRC FM.
You're very welcome, and thanks for joining us. Yes, it's that time of year again. The days are getting shorter, and we're hearing a lot more about SAD. Maybe you'll explain to our listeners, for those who don't know, and there'll be only a few of those, I think, what SAD is all about.
Okay, so winter blues or seasonal affective disorder, it's something that it tends to come on this time of year, and even though it's the cause of it is a number of things, multifactorial, probably the most obvious one would be lack of exposure to full spectrum natural light. It just appears the most logical explanation of playing a role in it, because, well, in the last 10 days or so, or fortnight, the clocks change, and so maybe sometimes coming into the winter, you go into work and it could be dark, and you come out of work and it's dark.
That's true,
and
yeah.
You really don't get exposure to natural light or daylight as much as you would in the summer. So definitely that'll be a variable that'll play a big role in it, and that we know from scientific research that light can affect mood. But there is other variables for sure. I mean, vitamin D, which is a vitamin we make from the sun, I'm convinced certainly that plays a role. And also the fact, Johnny, we'd be probably less active in the winter time as well.
True.
And physical exercise is a big one too.
You know, when you say lack of sunlight, in fact, would that be then that the body's getting lack of, because the body or brain, does it produce serotonin?
Yeah, and I guess more specific, it'd be lack of natural light.
Okay.
So it's including sunlight, but full spectrum. So daylight contains many colours or spectrum of light, and it's much different than what you might get if you were sitting in an office with an incandescent bulb or fluorescent bulb. You'd only get part of the spectrum. It's the same if you're looking at a TV screen or a computer screen. The light you see is only part of the spectrum. Now, the problem is that we're designed via evolution to get natural light as much as possible. Now, in through the eyes and through the cones in the back of the eyes, it affects the pineal gland in the brain, and that affects the nervous system, and it can be related to mood and feeling of well-being. So the science is there, we understand it quite well. But I guess just in the last, we'll say, few decades, we spend more times indoors with technology, and that people spend a lot of time under artificial light. And then maybe when you come home in the evening, you might watch TV, which is also looking into a medium of artificial light. And you may never, for a few months, get much exposure to natural light. So it'd definitely play a role. And I mean, what to do about it would be to definitely at lunch break, if you can get out for a walk, you know. It is natural light going into the eyes, but also I think exposure of the skin to natural light is important too. And interestingly, you got a caller who was doing the gardening in her bikini recently, and definitely, you know, if you can get natural light onto the skin, there's some science to say that's important too.
Okay. Now then, and obviously it affects a lot of people. So if you're in a job, say you start at 8 o'clock in the morning, you don't finish till 5. When you go to work, as you quite correctly said there, Gabriel, it's dark. And when you finish in the evening, it's dark again as well. So as you said, at lunchtime, if you can, just pop out for 20 minutes or wherever.
Definitely. Simple little things like that. But also, with technology as well, what one can do is they can replace all the bulbs in their house and get full spectrum lights in their house or their office. Now, again, the there's been some research done on this where in an open plan office, they replaced the lights in one part of the office with full spectrum lighting. So it's basically a bulb that mimics daylight. Now they're more expensive than that, but when they were compared to the other part of the office, same office with incandescent lighting, the productivity of the natural lighting was way up, less sick days, all these kind of variables that would show that it does. Now they've done this in schools as well in the States, and there's less cognitive dysfunction in the kids, and concentration is better and so on. I mean, we really don't need more science to be convinced about the effects of light. So there's something employers could do, but also people can do in a domestic level in their house, is to replace all their bulbs if they feel they're affected in the winter months by mood and depression and seasonal affective disorder or the winter blues. That'd definitely be an idea to do.
Okay, I want to talk to you about some herbs. And here's one that, well, I don't know what the story is, but I'm sure you're going to tell me now. And I know this was available, well, they say under the counter, can I put it that way? St. John's Wort. There is help at hand with herbs, and we'll go through them one by one. There's 3 here we want to talk about. First of all, will you tell me about St. John's Wort?
St. John's Wort is a very safe and effective herbal medicine traditionally used for insomnia, anxiety, and the menopause. So that's the traditional prescribing or indication for St. John's Wort, and it's a very, very safe and effective herbal medicine. In the last 30 years or so, there's been a lot of research done on it for depression. And in the majority of clinical trials, it's shown to be very effective for mild to moderate depression. So a lot of people see it as an antidepressant now, but really it's a nervous system tonic. I guess what you were alluding to there, that it's not available over the counter. I mean, the reason for that was at the time when it was banned in Ireland, and I think it was probably about 7 or 8 years ago, with an estimated 75,000 people in Ireland taking it at the time. It's because it does interact with a small class of pharmaceutical drugs. So therefore, if you're on a medication in this small class of drugs and you're taking St. John's Wort may affect the dose of the drug. Okay. And for that reason, it can be dangerous in that rare case. I mean, as a medical herbalist, I prescribe it all the time, and we're allowed to do so. It's important to know that it is very safe and effective, Johnny, when a person isn't taking that small class of pharmaceutical drugs. But people think, I guess, because it's not available over the counter, is that it's dangerous or toxic.
Is there side effects with St. John's Wort?
Sorry, say that again?
Is there side effects from this herb?
Very mild gastrointestinal irritation, or there may be in very high doses over long periods of time, the skin might become sensitized to light. But they're very rare. I mean, when, as I say, it's a very heavily researched herb in scientific literature, and always compare the effect first off, but then also any side effects or adverse effects. And when compared to the likes of Prozac, which is the most commonly prescribed antidepressant drug, interestingly, it was shown to be equally effective. So the exact same antidepressant effects, and it has much less side effects compared to Prozac. So, like
every other antidepressant, Gabriel, I take it that it would take a few weeks before you'd see benefits. A few weeks, maybe I should say, before it kicks in.
Yeah, well, when I prescribe it, I always tell people to take it for at least 6 to 8 weeks before assessing. And I guess because of the way the current conventional medical model, people expect a pill and expect to be better, the next day. Yesterday. And in general, herbal medicines work a little bit differently, and some of them, now they can work, some antibacterial, antimicrobial herbs can work that way, but in general with nervous system tonics like St. John's wort, you tend to need to take them for 6 to 8 weeks before you can clinically assess them. Now, that doesn't mean to say that they won't start working within a day or two,
Right.
but it's important to take them for a while before. Some people might take it for a week and say, you know what, that did nothing for me.
Yeah.
Really,
that's true.
It needs to be given a chance.
With the medicine you get from your GP, and we're talking about herbs here, right? I know that if you're go to your doctor and you're on tablets, obviously, and you're feeling better, you might be weaned off them. Maybe that's not the right word I'm using, but you might take lower doses eventually and then stop them. What's it like if you are taking St. John's wort? Can you stop it there and then if you're feeling better, or do you kind of temporarily reduce the dose?
Sure. I mean, the one thing to note, there's no dependency. So with some of its conventional pharmaceutical counterparts, there tends to be dependency in time, and there can be, with long-term use, can be side effects. In general, what we've seen with the research with St. John's wort is that the dependency isn't there. So if people take it for a long time and stop it, they don't get severe withdrawals. Now, however, some people feel better on it than off it. And if that's the case, I recommend to stay on it.
Okay.
The important thing to note is that it is safe and effective to take long term. Now, some people may, for financial reasons or otherwise, reduce the dose by half after 6 or 12 months. And they find it works equally effective to reduce the dose down. And that's perfectly fine as well. So it's kind of horses for courses, but it doesn't have dependency or addictive properties.
All right, then. Let's talk about one. I hope I'm pronouncing this right. Is it Ginkgo?
It's actually Ginkgo.
Ginkgo. Ginkgo. Ginkgo.
Yeah.
That's a new one for me. Ginkgo.
So the botanical name is Ginkgo biloba.
Yeah.
And very resilient herb, actually. Very fascinating history in Hiroshima, where the nuclear bomb was dropped. I mean, all vegetation was devastated, burnt up for many years. But the only natural vegetation or flora and fauna that survived it was the ginkgo trees,
all right,
which are quite prevalent in that area. So it's very resilient. It's noted as possibly the oldest tree in the world. So some of the trees that are out there, they're the oldest. So very resilient herb. And with that, I mean, the constituents of the leaf, it's very high in antioxidants, and there's other constituents that can be beneficial for mood. How it tends to works on the we think on the circulation and improves circulation to the brain, and that can have benefit with mood and so on. So again, it's another one that has been researched for seasonal affective disorder and has shown to be effective.
Okay, you hear people talking about withania.
Withania is a herb I use a lot. It's a very nice herb. It's an Indian herb, and again, it's a nervous system tonic. It's also an adaptogen tonic, so it's something that I take myself regularly for athletic performance. It's a lot of, I know, Olympic athletes from the East take it when they're during sport. It's not a banned thing, but it does enhance, we'll say, muscular function and stamina. It does affect the nervous system, so if someone has anxiety and stuff like that, it's a very beneficial. Again, for that reason, it was studied for seasonal affective disorder, and the research shows beneficial effects of it.
Okay. Now, here's one that's on a lot of shelves in supermarkets now, and a lot of people use this. Good quality cod liver oil.
Yeah, I mean, cod liver oil was an old remedy, as you know, in Ireland, John, in that, it was taken 50, 60 years ago. People were taking cod liver oil for health, and it has three really, really key ingredients. Omega-3s, so the essential fatty acids, vitamin D and vitamin A, so two fat-soluble vitamins. And these are all really important for robust health. And specifically, we know vitamin D, our best way to get it is to synthesize it from the sun. But we know that this plays a key role in mood, and that our levels in the summertime are a lot more than our levels in the wintertime. So if you were to look at a graph, come September, our vitamin D levels drop off quite significantly and steeply, and then sometime in April they begin to rise again. Exposure to sunlight is the main factor that affects it, but we can also get it from diet, and cod liver oil is a good source of it from the diet. I'd also recommend people supplement, and I have been given that recommendation for a number of years, and I know I was on with you, Johnny, I think a year and a half ago, talking about vitamin D as well and the benefits. And interestingly, 2 weeks ago, the FSAI, so Food Safety Authority of Ireland, who are an arm of the government, they've come out with recommendations that everyone in Ireland, man, woman and child, should take vitamin D supplements.
Okay. So we'll have to talk more about that maybe on another day, the vitamin D, if that's the case then. People talk about cod liver oil, they talk about the liquid form, the spoon, and they talk about the capsules. Is there any difference? Is there any difference at all?
Not really these days. There was a number of years ago. I mean, I think what happened about 7 years ago, there was some research done that really changed that area quite considerably, where an independent company, I think, took about 30 fish oil capsules from the shelves of various shops, cod liver oil and omega-3 fish oils, and they opened them and tested the oil that was in them, and they found that quite a considerable amount of them, the oil had gone rancid in the capsule. So for that reason, at the time, myself and colleagues, we generally recommend the liquid form, in that if it was rancid, you'd taste it, Now, a lot of people have trouble taking cod liver oil as it is, but in general, if you get that kind of repeating or burping after taking it, in the past, it may have been due to the oil hadn't been a good quality. But now, as I say, they changed that since, so all the manufacturers, when they're making the capsule, they read it on the ingredients, they put a small bit of vitamin E in there, and vitamin E is a natural preservative or antioxidant. So the oils tend to be preserved quite well in the capsule. So right now, my recommendation would be that they be equally as effective, the capsules or the liquid, whichever you feel comfortable taking. I mean, the point is to take it, I think, in small doses every day, All
right, then. That's great. Now, we had one, just a text here that's after coming. A call, not a text. Somebody's called us on our landline here to ask you a question. Does ginkgo interfere with, does ginkgo interfere with, this, obviously this lady is on medication for high blood pressure.
It does, again, ginkgo, like St. John's wort, is only available from medical herbalists and not from over the counter, for the reason that it does interfere with certain medication, and then medications are anything that thins the blood. So if you're on warfarin, Plavix, or any kind of antiplatelet medication like aspirin, then it will interact with that. And in that case, it's contraindicated. So other than that, though, again, it's very safe and very effective herbal medicine.
Can I give out your phone number in case anybody would want to call you and maybe ask you questions directly, Gabriel?
Sure, they can call the clinic on 07191 42940.
Yeah, I have it here, yeah. You will do. And just one more thing, and we're going to come back to the vitamin D in another programme. Just before you go, I suppose other things to take into consideration, we're talking about SAD, seasonal affective disorder, would be physical exercise, as well.
The best treatment for depression in the world today, Johnny, is physical exercise. If we could put it into a pill, it'd be a bonanza.
Yeah.
And we can extend that to seasonal affective disorder. As I alluded to at the top of the show, that it's coming into the winter, it's dark, we tend to go out less. I mean, the weather is bad and so on, so we tend to do less physical exercise. But it is imperative to keep exercising throughout the winter. And if you have mood disorder or any way of kind of depression or affective disorder, physical exercise is your best medicine, hands down. And it doesn't mean going killing yourself in a gym to be doing exercise. A 30 to 60 minute walk every day, and obviously to try it in fresh air and natural light or sunshine. But if you can't, it doesn't matter. Some people even have treadmills in their houses now and so on, but physical exercise is excellent for the body, for the musculature and so on, but it's also profound for the mind.
Okay.
So very important to just to do a bit every day if you can. Okay,
this has been a very interesting conversation, and a lot of people are interested in this, and I'm sure that we will speak with you in the near future. I want to thank you, Gabriel, as always, and I'll give out your details shortly, for your expertise and your advice on this. And in fact, today we're talking about SAD, and I appreciate your time.
Thanks very much, Johnny.
You're very welcome. That's Mr. Gabriel McSharry, and Gabriel is a professional nutritionist and a medical herbalist, and his clinic is in Calgary in County Sligo. If you want to check out his site, right, it's 3 W's in the dot, westernherbalmedicine.com. westernherbalmedicine.com. And if you just want to ask any question, there's no cost to ask a question over the phone, and his number is 071 914
Gabriel McSharry, nutritionist and medical herbalist. A safe and effective approach to your health condition. Call the clinic on 071 9142 940.